She was dying when he found her, curled over his son, bleeding out in the dirt. The wolf pup pressed against her chest, alive because she'd refused to let go. The Alpha King dropped to his knees, not to finish her, to claim her. If you want to see how Sylvain ended up dying for a pup that wasn't hers, subscribe to Shadow Moon Stories right now. We're told that bravery is blessed. That choosing the helpless over yourself makes you favored by the moon goddess. That courage in the face of death earns you protection, rewards, a place among the honored. We grow up on pack legends where the Omega who shields a wounded elder becomes Gamma. Where the runt who fights for her littermates earns the Alpha's bond. Where selflessness is currency the goddess always repays. But when you're bleeding out on forest soil with your lungs collapsing and your vision tunneling to black, with nothing but a trembling wolf pup pressed against your chest and the thunder of something monstrous closing in behind you, you learn the truth the legends never whisper. Bravery isn't blessed. It's just a faster way to die. I knew this as I clawed through the undergrowth, half-shifted claws I wasn't supposed to have tearing through root and mud. I knew this as my body, already broken in ways no healer could name, screamed for me to stop, to let go, to accept what the pack had always told me I was, nothing. I knew this as I curled over the pup, shielding it with the last warmth I had, whispering through blood in my throat, not you. Not tonight. I wasn't saving the pup because I believed in the goddess anymore. I was saving it because I understood, with a clarity that only comes when you're dying, what it meant to be hunted. To be abandoned. To be so unwanted that the world would rather watch you bleed out than lift a single claw. The pup's eyes met mine. Gold and silver swirling together like caged starlight. Too bright. Too aware. Too wrong for an ordinary wolf. And I thought, at least you'll live. I didn't know those eyes belonged to the cursed heir of the kingdom. I didn't know the Alpha King was already crashing through the forest, hunting his son with a desperation that had driven him half mad. I didn't know that my greatest shame, my trapped wolf, my failed shift, my broken, useless body, would become the only thing standing between his heir and death. But that came later. First, I had to stop breathing. Every wolf remembers their first shift. Bones snapping into new shapes. Senses exploding until you can taste the wind. Power flooding through your veins like molten silver until human and beast become one perfect, savage whole. It's supposed to be the greatest moment of your life. Sylvain never had hers. At 16, she waited. Sat beneath the full moon with her twin brother, both of them trembling with anticipation. He shifted in seconds, a massive gray wolf with their father's golden eyes. The pack held in celebration. Sylvain stayed human. At 18, she tried again. Forced herself into the moonlight until her skin burned. Begged her wolf to rise. Felt something stir deep in her chest, and then collapse. Like a flame suffocating before it could catch. Nothing. At 21, the healer finally told her the truth. Your wolf is there, the old woman said, pressing a hand to Sylvain's chest. But it's trapped. Caged inside you. It can't break free. Can you fix it? The healer pulled her hand away like she'd touched something rotten. No one can fix what was never whole. Her father stopped looking at her after that. Theron Voss had been Hollowshade's Gamma, third in command, a warrior who'd bled for the pack in 3 territory wars. Respected. Feared. Proud. Then his daughter failed to shift. Once. Twice. A third time. By the 4th year, he wouldn't even say her name. Mooncracked, he called her instead. Said it at pack gatherings where everyone could hear. Let it spread through Hollowshade like rot. Mooncracked. The word followed her everywhere. Whispered when she passed. Snarled when she reached for food. Spat at her when she dared to meet someone's eyes. Her twin brother, Kalen, was worse. He didn't call her names. He didn't acknowledge she existed at all. Kalen was everything Sylvain wasn't: powerful, shifted, wanted. The pack's youngest warrior. Their father's pride. He trained with the Sentinels, hunted with the Alpha Sons, walked through Hollowshade like he owned it. When Sylvain passed him, he looked through her. Like she was smoke. Like she was already gone. She learned to survive in the margins. Scrubbing the meat hall floors after meals. Hauling water from the river before dawn. Mending clothes the other wolves tore and discarded. Eating whatever scraps were left after the pack had taken their fill, gristle, burned edges, bones with the marrow already sucked out. No one hid their contempt. Careful, a she-wolf sneered once, yanking a bucket from Sylvain's hands. Don't want to catch whatever's wrong with you. She shouldn't be here, another muttered, loud enough for Sylvain to hear. A wolf that can't shift is a wolf that can't fight. She's a liability. A weakness. Should have been drowned as a pup. Sylvain learned to keep her head down. To make herself small. To move through Hollowshade like a ghost so no one would remember to hurt her. But she didn't leave. She couldn't leave. Because her mother was buried here. Alara Voss died when Sylvain was 12. A raid. A rival pack. A fight she shouldn't have been in but joined anyway because that's who she was, a wolf who never backed down, never stopped fighting, never gave up on anyone. Especially not her daughter. You'll shift, she used to say, brushing Sylvain's hair back from her face. I know you will. Your wolf is in there, little one. I can feel her. She's just waiting. Waiting for the right moment. What if the moment never comes? Her mother smiled. Then you'll make it come. Sylvain visited her grave every week. Knelt in the dirt. Talked to her like she was still there. I'm still waiting, Mama. I'm still trying. She couldn't abandon that hope. Even when Hollowshade had abandoned her. But sometimes, in the worst moments, something happened. When the cruelty cut too deep. When the isolation pressed too hard. When her chest ached with a loneliness so vast it felt like drowning. Her claws would half form. Not fully. Never fully. Just enough. Black and curved and sharp, sliding out of her fingertips before she could stop them. Her wolf trying to rise. And failing. It terrified the pack more than her brokenness ever had. She's unstable, the warriors muttered. A fractured wolf is dangerous. Unpredictable. What if she snaps? What if her wolf breaks out wrong? They started avoiding her. Giving her wide berth in the halls. Watching her like she was a wounded animal that might turn rabid. Sylvain learned to hide it. To swallow the pain before her wolf could respond. To bury everything so deep that nothing could claw its way out. It worked. Until the night of the eclipse moon. The eclipse moon rose like a wound in the sky. Red-tinged. Swollen. An omen of endings, the elders said. A night when the veil between worlds grew thin and dangerous things walked free. No wolf was allowed beyond pack borders during an eclipse. Sylvain didn't care. She needed to breathe. To escape the whispers, the stares, the weight of being unwanted in the only home she'd ever known. She slipped into the trees at the edge of Hollowshade, walked until the pack's fires were just a distant glow, and let the silence wrap around her like a balm. For a moment, she felt almost free. Then she heard it. A scream. High and raw and terrified, a sound that drove straight into her chest and wrapped around her heart. A pup. Somewhere deep in the forest. Alone. Dying. Sylvain's body moved before her mind could catch up. Her wolf surged, lost straining against its cage, clawing to get out, and she was running. Crashing through the undergrowth toward that sound. Toward Nightmaw Forest. Toward forbidden territory. Toward the choice that would change everything. The pack treated Sylvain like she was worthless, broken, disposable, nothing. If you believe everyone deserves to be treated with basic dignity, hit subscribe and drop a comment with the time you're watching this. Only people who side with bullies like her father scroll past without engaging. The eclipse moon bled red through the canopy. Sylvain knew the rules. Every pup in Hollowshade learned them before they could walk. When the moon turns crimson, you stay behind the borders. You don't venture out. You don't investigate strange sounds. You don't play hero. Because during an eclipse, the forest doesn't belong to wolves anymore. Rogue creatures crawl out of the dark places, things with too many teeth and not enough soul. Ancient magic seeps up from the ground like poison. The veil between worlds thins until you can feel something watching you from the other side. And the packs? They shoot first. Any wolf found outside its territory during an eclipse is killed on sight. No questions. No mercy. Doesn't matter if it's a rival warrior or a lost pup, the law is the law. Walk away, Sylvain told herself. This isn't your problem. The scream came again. Higher this time. More desperate. A sound that clawed into her chest and squeezed. Your heart is your weakness. Her father's voice. Cold and disgusted. That's why you'll never be a real wolf. You feel too much. Care too much. It makes you stupid. He was right. She knew he was right. She ran anyway. Her broken wolf surged against its cage. Not shifting, it couldn't shift, but straining. Pushing her faster than her human legs should carry her. Lending her strength she didn't have, senses she shouldn't possess. The forest blurred around her. Branches whipped her face. Roots tried to snare her ankles. She didn't stop. The cries pulled her deeper into Nightmaw Forest. Past the border stones. Past the warning markers carved with wolf skulls. Into territory so forbidden that even Hollowshade's warriors refused to patrol it. The trees here were wrong. Twisted. Growing at angles that hurt to look at, their bark black and slick like wet rot. The air tasted like copper and ash. And the silence. The silence was heavy. Pressing down on her. Watching. Then she found it. The pup was caught in an iron trap. Old. Rusted. The kind of thing humans used, spiked teeth buried deep in the pup's hind leg. Blood matted its silver fur, but not normal blood. It glistened. Laced with something that made Sylvain's wolf recoil in recognition. Silver. Someone had set this trap with silver-coated teeth. Someone had been hunting this pup. It was small. Barely weaned. Trembling so hard its whole body shook. And when it looked up at her, Sylvain's breath caught. Its eyes were wrong. Gold and silver swirled together in the irises, shifting and bleeding into each other like light trapped in water. Too bright. Too aware. Too ancient for a creature this young. No ordinary pup had eyes like that. What are you? She whispered. The pup whimpered. Pressed itself lower to the ground. Blood pooled beneath it, black in the moonlight. Sylvain dropped to her knees. The trap's jaws were clamped tight. Iron reinforced with silver bands, meant to hold something far stronger than a pup. Meant to hold a shifter. She grabbed the teeth and pulled. Nothing. She repositioned. Braced her feet. Put every ounce of strength she had into wrenching the trap open. The metal groaned. Her muscles screamed. And then, impossibly, it gave. The jaws snapped apart. The pup yelped, scrambling free, and Sylvain caught it before it could collapse. Pulled it against her chest. Felt its tiny heart hammering against her ribs. I've got you, she breathed. I've got you. For a split second, something stirred inside her. Her wolf. Not rising, but awake. Alert. Pressing against the cage like it recognized something. Like it was reaching toward the pup with everything it had. Then the roar shattered the night. It came from everywhere and nowhere. Deep. Guttural. So full of raw power that it vibrated in Sylvain's bones and turned her blood to ice. Not a howl. Not a warning. Wrath. Pure, annihilating wrath, the sound of something ancient and violent crashing through the forest with the force of a landslide. The trees trembled. Birds erupted from the canopy in shrieking clouds. The ground shook beneath her feet. Sylvain clutched the pup tighter. Run, her instincts screamed. Run. But her legs wouldn't move. Because she could feel it now. The presence. Massive and suffocating, pressing down on the forest like a physical weight. Getting closer. Crashing through the undergrowth with the sound of splintering wood and thundering footsteps. Something was coming. Something that had been hunting this pup. And Sylvain, broken, shiftless, defenseless Sylvain, was standing directly in its path. The undergrowth exploded. A shape lunged into the clearing. Huge. Monstrous. A hybrid form caught between man and wolf, 7 feet of corded muscle, midnight fur, and claws like obsidian blades. Its eyes burned molten gold in the darkness. And they were locked directly on her. On the pup in her arms. Sylvain's wolf went silent. Not from fear. From recognition. That trap wasn't an accident, someone wanted that pup dead. If you believe the innocent deserve protection, hit subscribe and comment the time you're watching. Only cowards who side with hunters scroll past. The creature towered over her. 7 feet of rippling muscle and midnight fur. Claws like obsidian blades, still dripping with something dark. A hybrid form so perfect, so complete, that Sylvain's broken wolf cowered inside her chest like a beaten animal. This wasn't just an alpha. This was power given flesh. His eyes burned molten gold, the same gold swirling in the pup's impossible gaze. They locked onto the small body pressed against Sylvain's chest, and for one terrible moment, she saw nothing but death in them. Then he saw the blood. The mangled leg. The way the pup trembled against her. And the rage in those golden eyes shattered. The shift was slow. Painful. Bones cracking and reshaping. Fur receding into scarred skin. The monstrous hybrid form collapsing inward until what stood before her was a man. Tall. Broad. Built like he'd been forged for war and never stopped fighting. Scars crisscrossed his chest and arms, old wounds layered over older ones. His jaw was sharp, his features harsh, his dark hair pushed back from a face that looked like it had forgotten how to show anything but violence. But his eyes. His eyes were broken. "My son," he whispered. The words cracked in his throat. Raw. Desperate. The voice of a father who had been hunting through hell and finally found what he'd lost. Sylvain's blood turned to ice. Son. The pup in her arms wasn't just any pup. He was royal. And she, a broken, shiftless nobody from a pack that didn't want her, had just interfered with a king's hunt. She knew what happened to wolves who touched royal blood without permission. Execution. Swift and public. A message to anyone else who might forget their place. Her arms tightened around the pup instinctively, then she forced herself to loosen. To lower him toward the ground. To show submission before this man decided to tear her throat out. I didn't know, she breathed. I heard him crying. I didn't know who he was. I'll go. I'll. Stop. The command hit her like a physical force. Sylvain froze. Kedrick stepped closer. His golden eyes weren't on his son anymore. They were on her. Studying her. Dissecting her. Looking at her like she was a puzzle he couldn't solve, and it was making him furious. He's not shaking, he said. Sylvain blinked. What? My son. Kedrick's voice was low. Dangerous. When you hold him. He's not shaking. She looked down. The pup was still pressed against her chest. Still bleeding. Still weak. But the violent trembling that had racked his body in the trap. It had stopped. His breathing was slower. Steadier. His swirling eyes had dimmed from frantic to calm. He was peaceful. That's impossible, Kedrick breathed. He told her the truth in fragments. Short, clipped sentences like he was rationing words. Like saying too much might make it real. The prince was cursed. 3 weeks ago, an enemy faction had gotten close enough to touch him. Close enough to plant a spell so vicious that it had trapped the boy in his wolf form and started killing him from the inside out. The curse fed on shifter energy. Any wolf who touched him made it worse. The stronger the wolf, the faster the curse spread. Alpha energy was the worst, it accelerated the decay until the prince's small body couldn't take it. Kedrick hadn't been able to hold his own son in weeks. Every time he tried, the boy screamed. But you, Kedrick said, and there was something in his voice now. Something that sounded almost like hope, and it terrified her. You held him. And the curse didn't react. I didn't do anything. Exactly. He stepped closer. You didn't feed it. You didn't strengthen it. When your blood hit his fur, the glow in his eyes dimmed. Sylvain shook her head. That doesn't make sense. I can't. You can't shift. It wasn't a question. She flinched like he'd struck her. I can smell it on you, Kedrick said. Your wolf is there, but it's caged. Trapped. You're a shifter who can't shift. His eyes narrowed. That's why the curse doesn't recognize you as a threat. I'm broken. Yes. The word should have hurt. It always hurt. But Kedrick said it differently. Not with disgust. Not with pity. With wonder. Broken things bend the rules of magic, he said quietly. They slip through cracks that whole things can't fit through. They touch what shouldn't be touched. Survive what shouldn't be survived. He looked at his son, still calm in her arms. My healers couldn't help him. My warriors couldn't protect him. My own power is killing him. His gaze lifted to hers. But you, a wolf who isn't fully a wolf, you're the only one who doesn't hurt him. Sylvain's throat tightened. She wanted to argue. To tell him he was wrong, that she was nothing, that she'd spent her whole life being told she was worthless and broken and better off dead. But the pup nuzzled closer to her chest. And she felt her wolf stir again. Not rising. Not shifting. Reaching. Like it recognized something in this cursed prince that it had been waiting for. Kedrick's jaw tightened. I need to get him back to the fortress. The curse is slowing, but it won't stop. He held out his arms. Give him to me. Sylvain hesitated. The moment she let go, the prince would start dying again. They both knew it. Come with me, Kedrick said. It wasn't a request. The whole world told Sylvain she was worthless, but she's the only one who can save the prince. If you believe the people others overlook are the ones who matter most, subscribe and comment the time you're watching. Only those who side with the cruel scroll past. The second howl split the night like a blade. Cold. Calculated. Nothing like the raw desperation that had torn from Kedrick's throat. This was a signal. Sylvain's blood went cold. Kedrick's head snapped toward the sound, and she saw something shift in his expression. Something that looked almost like fear, and that terrified her more than anything else. Because if the Alpha King was afraid. The shadows moved. They emerged from the trees like wraiths. Cloaked figures melting out of the darkness. 6. 8. 10, she couldn't count them all. They surrounded the clearing in a perfect circle, cutting off every escape route with military precision. Their weapons gleamed in the moonlight. Silver-forged blades. Iron-tipped crossbows. Chains that clinked with a sound that made her wolf recoil in primal terror. These weren't rogues. These weren't rival pack warriors. These were hunters. The same faction that had cursed the prince. Their leader stepped forward. Tall. Lean. Face hidden beneath a hood, but she could see his smile, thin and cruel, cutting across his jaw like a scar. Kedrick Thornsworn, he said. His voice was silk wrapped around a knife. Still chasing your dying whelp through the woods. How paternal. Kedrick's growl shook the ground. The leader ignored him. His hooded gaze slid to Sylvain, and stopped. And what do we have here? He tilted his head. Studied her like she was an insect he'd found crawling where it didn't belong. A defective vessel. I can smell the fracture in you from here. His smile widened. Your wolf is broken, girl. Trapped and useless. You're not even a real shifter. Sylvain's grip tightened on the pup. Hand him over, the leader said. This doesn't concern you. Walk away now, and we'll let you limp back to whatever hole you crawled out of. She didn't move. I won't ask twice. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. No. The hunters laughed. Low, mocking sounds that echoed through the clearing like a death knell. No? The leader's smile vanished. You're bleeding, broken, and outnumbered. You can't shift. You can't fight. You're nothing. He gestured to his hunters. Take her. They moved. Sylvain moved faster. She didn't think. Thinking would have gotten her killed. Her body reacted on instinct, on something deeper than training, deeper than fear. Her wolf surged against its cage, and for a split second, she felt it, power crackling through her limbs like lightning. Her claws half-formed. Black and curved, punching through her fingertips as she swiped at the first hunter who reached for her. He screamed. Blood sprayed. He dropped. The second came at her with a blade. She ducked under it, drove her shoulder into his chest, sent him sprawling. Pain exploded in her side, another hunter's knife catching her ribs, but she didn't stop. Couldn't stop. The pup whimpered against her chest. She shielded him with her body, taking every blow meant for him. A fist cracked across her jaw. A boot drove into her stomach. Something sharp sliced her arm, her back, her thigh. She bled. She broke. She refused to fall. Kedrick was a hurricane. He tore into the hunters with a fury that shook the earth. Claws flashing. Teeth bared. Bodies flying. He moved like death incarnate, and for a moment Sylvain thought it would be enough. Then he got too close. The curse reacted. The prince screamed, a sound of pure agony that cut through the chaos like a knife. His small body convulsed in Sylvain's arms, the gold-on-silver glow in his eyes flaring bright enough to burn. Kedrick staggered back like he'd been struck. No, his voice cracked. No, The hunters saw their opening. Two of them broke away from the fight and rushed Sylvain. She couldn't dodge. Couldn't run. If she moved too fast, she'd jostle the prince. If she set him down, they'd take him. So she stood her ground. The first hunter swung at her head. She caught his wrist with her half-formed claws and twisted. Bone snapped. He held. She kicked him away and spun to face the second. Too slow. His blade caught her across the stomach. Pain. White-hot and blinding. She felt the blood before she registered the wound, felt her knees buckle before she realized she was falling. But she didn't let go. Even as her vision darkened. Even as her legs gave out. Even as the hunters closed in and the leader's cruel laughter rang through the clearing. She curled around the prince. Shielded him with the last of her strength. And held the line. Those hunters called Sylvain worthless, but she's the only one still standing between them and a child. If you believe the overlooked deserve to be the heroes, subscribe and comment the time you're watching. Only those who side with cowards scroll past. The blade came from behind. Sylvain didn't see it. Didn't hear it. Just felt the sudden, searing explosion of pain as steel punched through her side and scraped against bone. Her legs buckled. She caught herself on one knee, arm wrapped around the prince, the other hand pressing against the wound like she could hold herself together through sheer will. Blood pulsed between her fingers, too much, too fast. Get up. Her wolf's voice. Faint. Desperate. Get up. Protect him. She staggered to her feet. The hunter who'd stabbed her was grinning. She could see it beneath his hood, that sick, satisfied curve of lips. He thought he'd won. Thought she was done. He was wrong. Sylvain lunged. Her half-formed claws caught him across the throat. He gurgled. Dropped. But the movement cost her, fresh agony ripped through her side, and she stumbled, vision blurring at the edges. Another hunter was already moving. She saw the blade too late. It slashed across her ribs in a burning arc, laying her open from hip to shoulder. Blood sprayed the forest floor. She heard herself scream, or maybe that was the prince, still clutched against her chest, still crying. She couldn't tell anymore. Everything was red. Her wolf surged. One last time. One final, desperate push against the cage that had held it prisoner for 21 years. Sylvain felt it rise, felt power flood her limbs like wildfire, felt her voice tear from her throat in something that wasn't quite human. A roar. Raw and primal and furious. It hit the nearest hunter like a physical force. He flew backward, crashed into a tree, didn't get up. For one glorious second, she felt whole. Then her wolf collapsed. And so did she. The ground rushed up to meet her. She tried to catch herself. Tried to keep the prince elevated, protected, safe. But her arms wouldn't obey. Her legs were gone. Her whole body was shutting down, system by system, like a fire burning out. She crumpled over the pup. Curled around him with the last of her strength. Her breath came in shallow, wet gasps. Each one harder than the last. Each one pulling her further down into the dark. "I'm sorry, Mama." The thought drifted through her fading mind. "I tried. I really tried." The prince whimpered beneath her. Small paws pressed against her chest. Those swirling gold and silver eyes stared up at her, and she could have sworn she saw something in them. Fear. Not for himself. For her. Arms caught her before she hit the roots. Strong. Warm. Shaking. Kedrick. He pulled her against his chest, and she felt the rumble of his voice more than heard it, low and broken and desperate. "Stay with me. Stay with me." She tried to speak. Tried to tell him to take his son and run. But all that came out was a whisper. "Don't let them hurt him." Kedrick's grip tightened. She felt something wet hit her face. Warm. Not blood. Tears? "You protected my heir," he said. His voice cracked on the words. Shattered into something raw and reverent that she'd never heard from anyone, least of all directed at her. "So I will protect you. Do you understand? I will protect you." Sylvain's eyes fluttered. The world was going dark. Soft and quiet and almost peaceful. She thought she should be afraid. But Kedrick was holding her. And the prince was safe. And for the first time in her life, someone had looked at her like she mattered. Maybe that was enough. Kedrick laid her down gently. So gently. Like she was something precious. Something worth saving. Then he rose. And turned on the hunters. The leader saw it coming. She watched through dimming eyes as his smile finally faltered. As he took a step back. As his hunters, the ones still standing, realized what was about to happen. Kedrick didn't shift. He didn't need to. He walked toward them in human form, and somehow that was worse. Somehow the calm, measured steps were more terrifying than any hybrid form could have been. "You cursed my son," he said. His voice was quiet. Controlled. The eye of a hurricane. "You hunted him. Trapped him. And when someone finally protected him, his hands clenched into fists. You tried to kill her." The leader opened his mouth. Kedrick moved. Sylvain didn't see what happened next. Her vision faded to black before the first scream. But she heard them. She heard them all. Those hunters tried to destroy an innocent child and the only person brave enough to protect him. If you believe the wicked shouldn't win, subscribe and comment the time you're watching. Only those who side with monsters scroll past. Sylvain woke to warmth. Real warmth. Not the fading heat of blood loss or the false comfort of dying, but actual warmth. Soft and heavy and everywhere, pressing against her skin like a promise. She blinked. Silk sheets. A massive bed draped in deep crimson and charcoal. Pillows that smelled like cedar and smoke. Sunlight streaming through windows that stretched floor to ceiling, illuminating a room larger than the entire hovel she'd slept in back at Hollowshade. Where? Something moved beside her. She flinched, then froze. The prince. He was curled against her side, small body tucked into the curve of her waist, silver fur soft against her bandaged skin. His breathing was slow. Steady. Peaceful. No trembling. No whimpering. No glow of the curse burning in his eyes. He looked safe. You've been asleep for 3 days. Sylvain's head snapped toward the voice. Kedrick stood in the doorway. Human form. Arms crossed. Jaw tight. He looked like he hadn't slept since the forest, dark circles beneath those molten gold eyes, tension carved into every line of his body. But he wasn't looking at his son. He was looking at her. That same expression from the clearing. Like she was something impossible. Something he couldn't categorize or control. Like she was a miracle he didn't understand, and it was driving him mad. The healers weren't sure you'd wake, he said. His voice was flat. Controlled. But she heard the fracture beneath it. You lost too much blood. Took wounds that should have killed you. He stepped into the room. And yet here you are. Sylvain's throat was dry. The hunters. Dead. One word. Final. Absolute. She didn't ask for details. And the prince? Kedrick's gaze finally shifted to his son. Something softened in his expression, just for a moment, before the hardness returned. Stable. For now. He looked back at her. Because of you. He crossed to the window. Stood there with his back to her, silhouetted against the light. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter. The curse is accelerating. My healers confirmed it this morning. Whatever the hunters did, whatever magic they used, it's eating him from the inside. Faster every day. His hands clenched at his sides. At this rate, he has weeks. Maybe less. Sylvain's chest tightened. She looked down at the pup. At his small, fragile body. At the way he pressed against her like she was the only solid thing in his world. Can't you break it? She asked. You're the Alpha King. You must have mages, scholars. I've tried everything. The words cracked. Kedrick turned to face her, and for the first time she saw it, the desperation behind the control. The father behind the king. Every healer in the kingdom. Every mage. Every ancient text and forbidden ritual. Nothing works. The curse feeds on shifter energy, the stronger the wolf, the faster it kills him. His jaw tightened. I can't even hold my own son without accelerating his death. Sylvain swallowed. But You're different. He stepped closer. You held him for hours. Bled on him. Carried him through battle. And the curse didn't react. It weakened. His eyes bored into hers. You're the only one who doesn't hurt him. I don't understand why. Neither do I. He stopped at the edge of the bed. But I don't need to understand it. I just need it to work. Sylvain's mind raced. This was insane. She was no one, a broken wolf from a pack that hated her. She couldn't shift. Couldn't fight properly. Couldn't do any of the things that mattered in this world. And now the Alpha King was standing over her, looking at her like she was his last hope. I should go back, she said. To Hollowshade. I don't belong. No. The word was iron. You're not going back to that place. Not now. Not ever. Kedrick's voice dropped. I've seen how they treat you. I can smell the neglect on your skin, the cruelty in your memories. They starved you. Shamed you. Left you to rot because your wolf wouldn't rise. His lip curled. You think I'd send you back to that? Sylvain couldn't speak. No one had ever. No one had ever. Kedrick leaned down. Close enough that she could see the flecks of amber in his golden eyes. Close enough that his breath warmed her skin. You saved my son, he said. Now I need you to save his life. The words hung between them. Heavy. Absolute. A claim wrapped in a command. Sylvain looked at the prince. At Kedrick. At the impossible situation she'd stumbled into because she couldn't walk away from a crying pup. Her broken wolf stirred. Not rising. Not shifting. But listening. She realized it then. The thing she'd spent her whole life being told made her worthless, her fractured wolf, her failed shift, her body that didn't work the way it was supposed to. It might be the only thing that could save the kingdom. And the Alpha King was not done with her. Sylvain's pack threw her away like garbage, but the Alpha King sees what they were too blind to recognize. If you believe the broken deserve a chance to become something extraordinary, subscribe and comment the time you're watching. Only those who side with the cruel scroll past. Thank you so much for staying with me until the very end, it means more than you know. If Sylvain's story touched your heart the way it touched mine, if you felt that ache when she refused to let go of that pup, or that moment when the Alpha King finally saw her for who she truly was, then trust me when I say the next story will shatter you in the most beautiful way. I poured everything into it. More emotion. More tension. More moments that will make you hold your breath and refuse to look away. But here's the thing, I need to know you're with me. I need to know you're real. That you're here. That this story mattered to you as much as it did to me. So before you go, tell me where you're watching from. Drop your city, your country, your corner of the world in the comments. Let me see you. Let me know I'm not telling these stories into the void. And if you haven't subscribed yet, if you're still just passing through, please don't leave without hitting that button. Because I make these stories for you. And I don't want to lose you. The next story is waiting. It's ready. And I promise, it's even more intense than this one. Click the video on your screen right now. Don't keep her waiting.